Bianca, how come you're up so bright and early?
Papa has me running around from dawn till dusk. You know how it is.
Indeed I do.
I'm glad you're here, Tess. You've got to help me with something. But first, can you go and see Henry for me? He's at the sheepfold by the stockade, as usual.
Oh? Playing around with wooden swords again?
Aye, he's getting ready for the life of a mighty warrior.
Well, at least we know he'll be able to protect you from outlaws with wooden swords.
Oh well, boys and their games. Listen, would you bring him a beer for me?
But why don't you bring it yourself?
If Pa saw me running after Henry, he'd tan my hide. But I can't leave him dry in this heat.
Alright, I'll bring the beer to him.
Thanks. And don't forget to tell him it's from me.
Everyone knows all the beer in Skalitz is from you and your pa.
You know what I mean. And listen, Tess. Once you've given him the beer, come back to me again. Meanwhile, I'll make an excuse to Pa. I need you to go somewhere with me. But I'll tell you all about it after. Run along before the beer gets warm.
I brought you a beer. I'd say you'd need it after a hard battle.
Ah, great. It's as hot as Pa's Forge out here today. That's very sweet of you to get me a beer.
Well, I saw you hopping around here in this heat, and I figured you'd work up quite a thirst.
Ah, you're right there. Thanks. That's very kind of you. I'll have to pay you back somehow.
I'll look forward to it. How come you're training on your own today? You're usually here with that vagabond. What's his name?
Vanyek. And he's not a vagabond. He's a wayfaring combat master.
Well, it looks like he's off wayfaring somewhere else today.
Yeah, more likely sleeping off last night's boozing. Actually, since I've no opponent today, wouldn't you like to have a go? I mean, a bit of swordplay. I could teach you.
Me? Swordplay?
Sure. Why not?
All right then. I accept your challenge, young sir. But I must warn you, I can swat a mouse with a broom with my eyes closed.
Yeah, I knew you had the heart of a warrior. Let's go then. Come on then. Show me what you're made of. Whoever is the first to hit the other 10 times is the victor.
What if I hurt you, though?
Ah, don't worry. I can handle it.
Don't go easy on me, Hal.
Ah, very good.
Henry! Really? Now that is hardly chivalrous behavior. Now, I shall have to fight for my honor. Take that, you scoundrel!
Oh.
Are you alright?
It's nothing. I'm fine.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Are you mad at me?
No, of course not. It's my own stupid fault.
Well, that'll teach you to go around slapping decent, God-fearing girls on the backside. Let me have a look at it.
No, it's only a scratch and a couple of splinters. And I didn't mean to, you know.
Show me that.
No, really, it's nothing.
You know how it is, Hal. He who lives by the sword
Dies by the splinter, eh?
There now.
By the way, you owe Bianca for that beer.
Father! You swine!
What's happened?
Zbyszek! They're everywhere!
What?
They're killing everyone!
What?
Zbyszek, we have
Shit.
to... We have to...
Shit!
Elkaptam, gyertek segíteni!
Go with me!
Gyertek!
Let go of me! No, no, let...
Ez az ember olyan akár egy megadott kanccal!
Get off me!
Fogd rendesen!
You bastard! Please, stop, no, stop!
Picsába, nyisd ki a kurvát!
Please, leave me alone!
Deliverance! A faszom dökjen beléd, vagy valami hegyesebbre? Fogjad! Kurva! A faszba, László! Te süket kretén! Egy lány van ott bent! Nyisd ki!
Henry? Right, you whoreson. I've had just about enough of you.
Hey, go fuckers!
That's, I don't know what to say.
You don't have to say anything. You've been through it yourself. I know you understand.
There's something else I'd like to ask. Remember how we were sword fighting together? The next morning, Ma scolded me on account of that scratch on my hand.
Oh, dear. Sorry about that.
That's all water under the bridge now. I never told her it was you who did it. I just wish you could have covered my back too. She was angry that I was at sword training instead of working in the forge, and she said you told her. Your Pa and Stibor were really stealing from the royal mines? Jesus. I don't think even Fritz and Matthew would take that kind of chance. And there's not much that pair won't do for an easy groschen.
Yeah. In a way, I can understand that Pa did it for us, but it was really irresponsible. You won't tell anyone, will you?
I won't, I promise. So what happened to the silver?
Pa handed it over, as always, to that slimy fellow, and he took it away. What happened to it then, I don't know.
Your pa really wanted to marry you off to Master Tobias?
Yes. Can you believe it?
And have you spoken to Master Fayfar since the raid?
I haven't. Either he's lost interest, or he's forgotten about me. Not that I'm complaining. Uncle Peshek would be happy to marry me off too, especially if there was something in it for him. I'm glad that's in the past.
Aye, I don't blame you. So Johanka and Matthias finally got together. Well, if it hadn't been for everything that happened afterwards, who knows? They could be headed for the altar. Probably just as well you didn't play along with Johanka's harebrained scheme and found a better solution. Matthias would have had a fit if he'd lost his favourite dice. Bianca told me something about your little expedition to the woods. She was flaunting that ring all day. I was worried for a while that she had some other suitor who gave it to her.
No. Unless you can count a magpie.
Bianca, you really ran into a wolf. I thought Bianca must have been imagining things.
Not exactly. It was actually a wild dog, but Pa used to say those are even worse than wolves.
It's a good thing you were there with Bianca. Did you go back to Skalitz again, to bury your pa and your brothers?
Yes, along with some more of our neighbours. We had an escort from the Ratai garrison, with Sir Hanish's kind permission.
Where are they buried?
Sammy's buried near the mines. He didn't like the mines, but his grave is on the hill, where I used to meet him for lunch. He loved it there. I know it's not consecrated ground, but what could I do?
God will understand. I buried Ma and Pa under the linden tree by our house. It's what they would have wanted.
Yes. Father and Stebo are buried in the churchyard in Rovna.
Once things settle, we'll be able to go back and pay our respects. And get the priest to bless their graves. I have no more questions. Thank you for telling me about everything, Theresa. I know it isn't easy to talk about.
It helped to talk to someone who knows what it's like. Thank you. I'm glad you came out of it in one piece.
Yeah, so am I. And I'm glad you did too.
By the way, Henry, I have something for you. The soldiers gave it to me when we brought you from Skalitz. I meant to give it to you earlier, but, you know, it belonged to one of the Skalitz garrison. They wanted me to have it for being brave, but I hope I'll never have use for such a thing.
Oh? How come? What is it?
It's a shield with the Skalitz crest. I'd like you to have it, to protect you, and as a keepsake from home.
Sure. Thanks, Theresa. Thanks for everything. Listen, Theresa. There's something I ought to tell you.
What is it? What's troubling you?
I'm not quite sure how to tell you, so I'll just spit it out. So Radzig Kobyla is my father.
And King Wenceslas is my cousin. You really had me going.
No, I'm serious.
What? But, Henry, how on earth could...
I know, it was a shock for me too. It turns out Sir Radzig and my mother had some... romance. Of course, he couldn't marry a commoner.
And your father? I mean the blacksmith. God, that sounds so odd. I mean Martin.
He knew Sir Radzig from way back. Martin... Pa married her before I was born, to protect her reputation, and raise me as his own.
And Sir Radzig allowed it?
Sure. Actually, I get a feeling the whole thing was agreed between them. Sir Radzig was glad she wasn't left alone with a child.
My God, Henry, that's just... And what will that mean for you?
I honestly don't know.
You don't know?
Well, it all depends on Sir Radzig, doesn't it? As his illegitimate son, I don't have any rights as such. But it's not like I've suddenly become a noble like Capon. And even though Sir Radzig has publicly acknowledged me, well, sort of, it hasn't really changed anything.
And if Sir Radzig decided to make a real noble of you, would you want that?
Me become a noble? Fine clothes, hunting, drinking wine from a gold goblet, and stuffed pheasant for breakfast? Ha, of course! Who wouldn't want it?
I think there's a little more to it than that, Henry. You'd have huge responsibilities.
True. But anyway, it's not important what I want. A bastard will always be a bastard.
I don't know. All sorts of things can change. Would you still care for me, a common millmaid, if you were a nobleman?
Of course. I'll always be fond of you. Nothing will change that.
I'll remember that. I hope you won't regret those words.
No fear of that.
I love it here by the water. But how come you've been so quiet the whole time? What's on your mind?
You're on my mind.
Oh? In what way?
Well, you know. How pretty you look in that.
Ah. You think I look pretty, do you?
Yeah. Especially when you laugh.
I was afraid you'd say especially when you've no clothes on.
Well, now that you mention it.
Come here, you charmer. Henry, do you think sometimes about how it was in Scarlet?
How do you mean?
Back then, before everything. When I was taking care of the hens at the mill, taking Sammy his lunch at the mines.
It seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
In the summer, I always took my shoes off and walked barefoot the whole way. And when it was really hot, I'd stop at the stream and stick my feet in the water for a while.
I had to make do with the tub in the yard when I was helping Pa in the forge. You know how hot it gets there in the summer? I always sneaked off if I could, even though I knew Pa would tan my hide when he came home.
I remember that. He was always looking for you all over the village, but you'd be hiding somewhere with Fritz and Matthew. Me and the other girls used to follow you secretly, but we never told your Pa where you were. And when he gave up looking for you, the three of you would go off to the woods to beat each other with sticks.
Yeah, we were playing at being knights. Jesus, I used to get black and blue from it. I can still feel some of the blows that big ox Fritz landed on me.
No more playing at nights. Now you're practically a real one.
Indeed, as you say, young damsel, I am the very soul of knighthood.
Ah, the noble Sir Henry of Balderdash, the very picture of manhood. Pray, what is your coat of arms, Sir Knight? A beer tankard? A pair of crossed chicken legs?
Such wicked words, you shameless wench. Being a knight is not about symbols, but about deeds. But my coat of arms should be a bolt of lightning above a stable.
I thought a knight was supposed to prove his manhood a bit differently than you with your lightning in the stable. And besides, it is unfitting to talk of such matters, lest there be complaints at the court that Sir Knight is wasting his strength on dallying with village girls.
Forgive me, fair maid. Love for you has clouded my reason.
Henry, you really are a donkey. Henry, let's play a game.
What game?
A guessing game. I have something with me today, and you have to guess what it is.
All right. You'll have to give me a clue, though.
Fair enough. Here's a clue for you. It's something you'd find in a tavern.
Is it beer?
Oh, I made it too easy for you, didn't I?
So it is beer. Let's be having it then.
Wait, that's not all. Since you guessed right, as a reward, you can choose. Either I'll give you the beer, or I'll reveal one piece of family wisdom our grandfather used to tell us.
Tough choice. All right, I'll take the wisdom.
Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Really, really ready?
Don't leave me in suspense. Tell me.
Right. Listen carefully. This is the wisdom of our family, passed down from generation to generation. When someone offers you free beer, take it.
Well, that's it. All right, you got me. I admit it. Nice one.
At least next time you will be wiser. Anyway, that's all the wisdom I have for you today. It's time me and my beer headed for home. Will you accompany us?
Well, naturally, I couldn't leave such a pretty pair to go alone. Oh, that was quite a long way. So, are you going to tell me why we came here?
Here's where my brother is.
Oh. I didn't realise. Sorry.
I wanted to come back here, but I was afraid to come alone.
Oh, very wise. It's still not safe in these parts.
Sometimes I think it was my fault. If only I'd done more for him, he might still be alive. If we'd left the mine during the night with Matthew and the others, maybe it would all have ended differently.
Well, maybe, but I doubt it. You said yourself that Samuel wouldn't have managed the journey. You did everything you could for him. And if you'd left during the night, you wouldn't have saved my life.
I know. It's just so hard sometimes. I know I did everything, but it wasn't enough. How could God let it happen?
I'd say God had nothing to do with what happened to Skalitz. You're not to blame for anything. It's the war and all the futility and suffering around it that's to blame.
Henry, I'll never forget Samuel and Stibor and Papa, and I'll never be able to accept the injustice of it all. But I still have you.
I love you, Theresa.
I know. Thanks for walking with me, Henry. And for everything else. I couldn't manage without you. Henry, I don't want to complicate things, but how do you think it will be between the two of us? After all that's happened to us both, you're all I have left in my life. But you've got a lot of work for Sir Radzig and I'm afraid you'll have to leave me too.
Have no fear. I'll never leave you. Wherever my duties might take me, we'll still be together. After all, you're all that's left to me, too. And even though everything might change...
Henry, will you promise me something?
Anything.
Promise me you'll take care of yourself. Even if you were to go away for a long time and meet other girls. If I were to lose you too, I don't know what I'd do.
Ah, Theresa.
Just promise me.
I promise.
Thank you. I know it's a hard thing to promise, but... You know, well, we ought to be heading back. I still have work to do. Besides, you don't want to see me crying like a baby here.
Definitely not. You'd start me off too.
Right then, let's go.